Hey everyone, Austin here again with another Let's Play video. As you can see, it's going to be F-Zero X for the N64. This is actually one of my favorite racing games of all time, and I've actually been meaning to do a Let's Play of this game for ages now. I did one on the Super Nintendo original many months ago, and the N64 version, or F-Zero X, technically the sequel, is just, it's long overdue. This is actually one of my most frequently played racing games pretty much ever. I played it a ton back in the day, and I've played it a lot on and off as the years go on. And just, this game is so much fun to me. It hits my nostalgia buttons, but it also hits everything else I like about futuristic racing games. The speed, the sleek nature typically of the visuals and whatnot, and in case of this game, 60 frames a second pretty much at all times, which is really almost unheard of on the N64. Just the tight controls, the killer like heavy metal and hard rock soundtrack. There's really nothing quite like it on the system, and aside from F-Zero GX on the GameCube, which was the follow-up to this game, there's still really nothing else quite like this game. Even compared to GX, I mean, it still stands on its own. And actually, you know, it's funny, I actually come back to this one more than the GameCube version. And the GameCube game is amazing, but this also has some things I really enjoy a lot more over that one. And overall, it's the one I come back to the most in the series. So what we're gonna do is we're going to try to go through the first three main cups in this game on expert mode. And then I basically cleared all my save data on here, so we're basically starting off as if this was like a brand new cartridge. And if we complete those cups in a solid amount of time, I'll try to tackle the fourth cup as well, the Joker Cup, which gets unlocked after you finish the first three cups on expert. So yeah, we'll kind of just jump into it and see what happens. But before we actually start playing, I wanted to give a big shout out to my current Patreon supporters. Thank you guys for your continued support, and this actually sort of falls into my Patreon goal, where if I made a certain amount on Patreon each month, I would start tackling some Nintendo properties, and so this sort of falls into that as well. So you can sort of thank the Patreon backers for this video, as you know, with Nintendo and their copyright claim nonsense and stuff like that here on YouTube, it's harder to justify doing Nintendo content, but thanks to you guys on Patreon, I've got another Nintendo branded video for you. And I'll try to be back with another Nintendo branded video sometime soon as well. I'm hoping to tackle Super Mario Bros. 2 on the NES in particular, to follow up with my original Super Mario Bros. NES Let's Play from a little while ago. So yeah, F-Zero X has a ton of options. You've got your normal GP race, which is what we're going to be playing. You've got practice. You've got time attack. The cartridge actually does save all your times and things like that. It also can save some ghost records and whatnot, which is really cool. This is actually one of the modes I spent the most time with back in the day. A friend and I, we would actually just sit down and try to beat each other's times on tracks, and it was just a ton of fun. There's also Death Race, which is kind of like an interesting side mode. You basically just race around this track, and you just try to kill or destroy as many opponents as possible. There's also multiplayer, which I can't select right now because I don't have other controllers plugged in. But this game does do up to 4 players, and even during a 4-player game, it still remains at 60 frames a second. It's really quite incredible. This game does not use the expansion pack, by the way. It's not an expansion pack game. So, you know, the fact that they were able to pull off such, you know, such a high frame rate is really something. So we're going to go ahead and select Expert. And again, you get 3 main cups. We're just going to go ahead and start off with the Jack Cup. And so you've got a bunch of different characters you can choose from. Unfortunately, because I deleted my data to basically refresh the cart, we don't have any of the other characters aside from the first 6 that are unlocked right from the beginning. I always play as the Blue Falcon, aka Captain Falcon, and you've also got some options here you can you know, change. I usually go up to around here, you know, slower acceleration, higher top speed, that sort of thing. Captain Falcon's by far not the best ship in the game. There's other ships that are better, but this is just the ship I have always personally used. It's what I'm the most used to. It's how I'm used to finishing the game, so I'm just going to play with the Blue Falcon. And so let's just jump right into it. And I'll just sort of, you know, as usual, explain things as we go. And this is probably going to be a decently length Let's Play, at least an hour and a half long. And I just knocked out one of our opponents. So one of the cool things about F-Zero X that they they introduced in this game is the ability to double tap R or Z, and you'll notice that your vehicle actually glows red for just a moment. And when you do that, you'll actually slam into enemies, or opponents, I should say. They're not really enemies per se. You know, this isn't an action game, but there are some action elements with being able to take out opponents by ramming into them with by double tapping R or Z. Z for left, R for right. And you can also hold Z and double tap R, or vice versa. You can hold R and double tap Z, and you'll do this sort of like spin attack right here, which is kind of interesting. And you can actually slam through multiple enemies with that. Another big gameplay change from the original F-Zero is that you now have your energy meter, which doubles as a boost meter. So both your shield and your boosting are tied in the exact same meter now. Whereas in the original F-Zero, for every lap you completed, you got a boost, and you know, you could basically store up to 3 boosts, I believe, in the original F-Zero. But on F-Zero X, you can use as much boost as you want after the first lap, as long as you've got the shield to bear it. And then once you run out of shield, you can't use boost anymore, and pretty much one hit after that will destroy you, and you'll have to do the whole course over again. And so basically what that does, it incorporates a more subtle boost mechanic. So you can tap boost just to use it a little bit. You can keep using it over and over if you want to try to build top speed. And the more you play the game, the more you learn when to use the boost, when it's safer to use the boost, and so forth. It's one of the best mechanics in the game. I really love this style of boosting. And a couple of other futuristic racing games have paid homage to that style of boosting. Like, I want to say Fast Racing on the Wii U and on the Switch. I think those also use a similar boosting style, but they also have some other things that also mix it up. F-Zero GX also uses the same boosting style, which was basically started in this game. You also have boost pads on the courses, and those never change. They're always in the same spot. So like in this case, one's going to come up on the right here, and then left, and then center, just like that. And you really want to try to memorize where those boost pads are, because those, in combination with your normal boost ability, and I have to actually slow down here, there's actually a little bit of a glitch there, where you can actually end up flying off the track, even though the track looks pretty flat. There's some interesting little physics mechanics that can catch you off guard and throw you off the course. Alright, so I don't want to die here. I want to try to not die as much as possible. Not die as much as possible, but not die as much as possible. Alright, so first place, that's good. So basically what happens is after every race in this game, you're allotted points, and at the end of the circuit, you need to come in first place. I think you have to come in first place to get the credit for working towards unlocking your other cups. I could be wrong, so if anyone's watching this and knows better, I know there's going to be a lot of people that do know better, so feel free to post a comment in the comments section below and let me know. But I've always had the idea in my head that I had to do all the cups in first place by the end in order to get the credit towards unlocking the other cups and getting the, I guess you could say, the true ending. There is an alternate ending if you go through all the cups on Expert, including the Joker Cup, the 4th cup that you unlock. And hopefully we can see that in this Let's Play. I was actually live streaming this on Twitch a couple weeks back, and I just did it in one sitting, and that kind of gave me, you know, sort of gave me an idea of how long it would take to do a Let's Play of this game from start to finish, including the 4th cup. And then the 5th cup is it's just there as a novelty. It's not something that you have to complete, because it's just randomized courses. It's a really neat cup because the courses are randomized. Like literally, they're just like randomly generated courses. It's kind of crazy, actually. They're not really good courses. I don't think you could say they're good, but it is fun to play around with, without a doubt. And it is a really cool option that they included in the game. I don't even know if GX had like a random course generator, come to think of it. Again, correct me if I'm wrong. Let me know, guys, out there. Alright, so it's going to be boost right here, and we're good. We are good. So 2 courses down with first place, which is good. Which that actually kind of puts me back up in the rankings. So I might actually be first place in the overall rankings now. And again, that's where I need to be. I need to be first place in the overall rankings. And again, correct me if I'm wrong. So we're at 287. The guy below me is 268. So not bad. As long as I keep getting first place, we'll be fine. Now, one interesting thing is when you're playing on Expert, and especially Master Mode, which is the mode that comes after Expert, you can actually take out your opponents that are like trailing right behind you. And if you do that, obviously they get no points for the track. So, like the character that was right below me in rankings, if I knock him out on this track, it's pretty much guaranteeing me to not really have much competition over the next race or two. In terms of overall rankings and whatever. And you can actually tell who's close to you in rankings by seeing that rival indicator. You can sort of like there's a vehicle up ahead that has the rival indicator above him, and so if I really wanted to, I could try to take out that guy, and that would be really good for me in terms of the overall rankings. Which again, I want to get first overall by the end of this circuit, or this cup, I should say, in order to get my credit. And I'll tell you what I mean by credit after we do so and we finish this whole cup. So the Z and R, you know, like I said, double tapping allows you to do attacks, but just pushing them normally sort of like veers you in and lets you make turns much sharper. So extremely important mechanics in this game that you have to get the hang of. Constantly veering in to the left or right to make turns faster and whatnot. Okay, third place, not horrible, not the best, but and actually the guy I think that was right behind me ended up getting first. So let's see where we stand in the rankings now. Still first. Yeah, so he caught up a little bit. So I have to make sure I definitely don't get third again. Otherwise, there's I think he'll actually surpass me if he gets first and I get third again. So let's try to make sure that doesn't happen again. And Big Blue, I think we've got one more course after this. I think it's one more course. Yeah, I think it's one more course. Ooh, just knocked out one of the rivals. And I'm not sure which one that was, but knocking out any rival is a good thing. And so Big Blue is interesting. This is where they introduce the cylinder mechanic or course design. Not really mechanic, but the cylinder-like course design, which is kind of interesting. One of the great things about bringing F-Zero into 3D, like true 3D, like polygons, is being able to do different things with the course layouts. One of them was this cylindrical design, which is really cool. You're constantly like whipping around it, and this was also brought back in F-Zero GX. This is something they carried over into that game. There's also parts where you're going upside down. Granted, everything is just so zoomed in, it's hard to tell you're actually upside down, but you can actually see like the correct side of the course overhead, above your head, which is pretty cool. And so there's lots of mechanics like that, lots of twists and turns that you don't get in the original Super Nintendo F-Zero game. Lots of curvature in this game as well, you'll notice. In F-Zero and Super Nintendo, everything was just very boxy. And it pretty much had to be like that, given like how they were, you know, basically how they were achieving that faux 3D effect on Super Nintendo. And it was still a great game. I love the original F-Zero. It's actually one of my favorite Super Nintendo games. And, but, oh, I got third place again, but that's right, I knocked that guy out. So I think I'm still going to be first in the rankings. But F-Zero X, with it being in full 3D, you know, polygonal and whatnot, there was just so much more they were able to do with the track design that they couldn't do in the original F-Zero on Super Nintendo. Oh yeah, we're way far ahead now. So you can see how the guy below me only has 374 points. I have 461 because the guy that was trailing me, I knocked him out. And he's still at 368, which is what we were at on the previous course, the Mighty Gazelle. So that's where knocking out your opponents can really, really come in handy. Really come in handy if you're trying to, you know, basically come in first in the overall rankings. So right now, I don't even, you know, because I'm so far ahead in the rankings, I don't even really have to play this one seriously. I mean, I could probably end up in 10th place or higher, or yeah, and still come in first in the overall rankings. So we'll kind of see what happens. So this is actually the first part in the game where you actually go into the air, which is really cool. You can actually hold back on the analog stick, which will slow you down midair. You could also press forward on the analog stick, which will make you sort of like dive, you know, cut through the air, or cut through the sky sharper, which will actually make you fall to the ground faster. And in some cases, doing it right can actually, like right here, almost feels like it can kind of speed you up a little bit. I'm not sure if it actually does, but the feeling that it gives you definitely feels like, you know, you're speeding up a little bit faster when you cut through the air in a downward fashion. When you hold the stick backward, you definitely slow up, and it's not recommended. If any experts out there watching have any, you know, recommendations, or not really recommendations, but like real world uses of holding back the analog stick when you're in the air, like I'll demonstrate it here. Like this. Like, I can't think of a reason why you'd want to do that unless you were you were flying off the course or something like that, and you just needed to get control. That might be why you might want to do it, but it doesn't seem to help you from like a speed perspective or anything like that. In fzero X, it's all about speed. It's all about staying as fast as you possibly can, in order to get that first place, especially when you're on expert mode and higher. Oh yeah, look at that. I mean, I was like, what, 8th place, and I'm still way ahead of the pack. So we're good. We got first place. So we'll go ahead and let this roll out. I think I actually have to let this roll out. I don't think you can skip this. So we'll just go ahead and let it play out. Oh yes, fzero X. So many good memories with this game. It was actually a blast playing this on Twitch a few weeks back. Sort of like practicing it to do this Let's Play. It's, you know what's funny, it's actually a game I don't really have to practice, and I don't even know why I sat down to practice it. It's just a good habit to be into, you know. There's some Let's Plays I've tried to just like jump right into. I'm like, oh, I can do this, and I realize I'm really, really rusty. But with fzero X, I'm never really rusty. It's just one of those games that's always stuck with me. Yeah, it brings back good memories, but it is just still a ton of fun to play. The controls especially are just extremely tight in this game, and it's one of the best uses of the N64 analog stick in my opinion, and I honestly can't imagine playing this game with anything other than the N64 analog stick. It's just that good for this game. Assuming you've got an analog stick that's nice and tight and, you know, actually works. Alright. I love the music in this game too. It's so good. I'm a big fan of, you know, fast driving rock and metal and things like that. And this game just really hits the spot for me when it comes to video game rock music. It's just incredible. It's one of my favorite rock soundtracks out of, you know, pretty much any video game out there. So this is what I meant by progress. So you'll notice there's a bunch of X's over the that cup. Each of those X's stands for a difficulty mode. Now what's cool is if you have a fresh cart where you clear your data, if you complete a cup on expert, it'll actually spot you the X's for the lower difficulties as well. I wish more games did this, which is another reason why I enjoy just firing this game up with a fresh cart and just starting fresh, because I can complete everything relatively quickly because the game allows me to. It's not one of those games that says, oh, you have to play it on novice and then medium and then or normal and then expert just to get the credit. Like, no, you play it on the higher difficulty modes first, you complete it, it credits the easier ones automatically. So there's no like redundant gameplay forced to like padding or anything like that in this game. It's just very cut and dry, to the point, and that's how I like my games. So yeah, once we get 3 X's across all these cups, the 4th cup will open up. So let's go ahead and jump into the Queen Cup. And again, we're going to go ahead and stick with Captain Falcon. And this is actually one of those courses where you can see you actually go upside down, which is pretty cool. So if you're new to this game, you should probably have the gist of how things work now. It's fairly basic. You've got boost pads on the ground. You've got sharp turning with the Z button and R button. You got a couple of different attacks you can do, like that. I just smashed that guy. And then you've got boosting after the first lap. And that's pretty much it. So we're just going to play around that and hope that we can get first place overall in the next couple of cups. Now there's actually another mechanic I forgot to mention. You'll notice that you have lives. It's on the top left hand portion of the screen underneath your lap count. If you lose all 3 lives, or I should say if you run out of lives completely, it's game over. End of cup, you got to start the cup over from the beginning. So you do have to watch out for that. You can't just, mosey your way to the end and get a free X above the cup just because you credit fed your way through the game. It doesn't really work like that. However, there is a mechanic you can go by or play by where if you kill 5 opponents or destroy 5 opponents, you get an extra life. So on the right hand side of the screen there's some stars, and I have 1 star because that's indicating that I destroyed 1 opponent on that course. Now if I destroy 5 opponents, extra life just like that. So if you're having problems with a course and you want to have a little more buffer room without having to restart the entire cup, you can try to kill as many opponents as possible and just keep racking up extra lives. And that's actually one strategy I'll do on the higher difficulty mode. Sometimes I don't even bother with trying to get first place. I just try to kill as many opponents as possible, destroy as many opponents as possible to rack up extra lives, but also remove them from the rankings. And sometimes you can boost ahead of these guys right from the get-go. A lot of times you can just knock them out right from the beginning. So the guys that are ranked the highest in the standings overall, they basically end up in the back of the pack when the race starts. So the guys that are your rivals, the guys that are close to you in the rankings basically, they're going to always start right next to you. So if you can get a slight boost ahead of them, a lot of times you can just knock them out right at the very beginning of the race. And it's an extremely important strategy if you want to try to beat this game on Expert and particularly Master. Masters, I don't even think I've ever finished the game on Master, personally, and I need to actually try that sometime, really dedicate some time to it, and make that happen. And if anyone out there is an expert at this game and has finished this game entirely on Master, let me know if there's anything that gets unlocked, anything extra that gets unlocked for doing that. I would imagine there probably is, but I don't know what that is, if it exists. Alright, can we boost up? Nope, I pressed R. That was actually dumb on my part. So that was 5th place. That's not very good, unfortunately. So let's see where we are in the overall rankings. 2nd, yeah. So Jodie Summer, I need to try to knock her out since I'm behind. Now, I made the mistake of trying to knock into one guy in the very beginning of that previous course, but failing. And, now, one other thing you have to watch out for in this game is just the... just all the enemies bunching up together. Mainly towards the beginning of the course, but if you're lagging behind, if you're in like 8th, 9th, or 10th place or farther, the other opponents can basically be obstacles which can actually slow down your progress. When you're in like second or first place or something like that, it's not as big of a deal. You have a lot more room on the track to work with. You're not so sandwiched in between other opponents. And that was one of my problems on the previous course, is opponents kept getting in my way, which basically slowed down my progress. And I wasn't able to get ahead. So I ended up finishing in 5th instead of, you know, a higher rank, unfortunately. Alright, we actually should get this. Oh, that was close. That was actually... One thing you can do in this game is you can slide out. So that's where, like, finessing your analog stick is extremely important. And so when you see me slide out, it's actually a failure on my part, not the game's fault. There's basically a threshold where you can only turn so quickly, so rapidly before you'll just sort of like slide out. So it looks like I'm about 8 points higher than the previous character, or one of my rivals, the one that's below me in the rankings. So I need to make sure as long as I keep getting first place, I'll be fine. You know, I'm pretty much guaranteed to win overall, but... Alright, lap 2, just about. So I knocked that guy out. So there's that announcer. He can sort of give you an idea of where you are and like the overall the standings. He would be like, oh, you're way out ahead, or something like that, and that lets you know that there's not really anybody like on your back, so you can sort of like let your guard down a little bit. And as far as I know, there's not a whole lot of rubber banding in this game, so when you're ahead, you're really ahead, and guys aren't just going to magically appear out of nowhere behind you. The AI doesn't really work like that. Maybe they do on Master Mode, I'm not sure, it's been a while since I played it, but generally speaking, the AI is not, you know, they reward like actual skill in this game. You know, if you really play well, you're going to be in first place, that sort of thing. Now, some AI towards the end of the cup structure can get really intense and intimidating. But on the Jack Cup and the Queen Cup, they're generally not too bad. So I have to watch out here. Basically, there's no railings on the side, which means I can fall off the course. But if I can destroy that rival, I think I'll pretty much be guaranteed to stay ahead in the overall rankings. Oops, I passed her, but not a big deal. As long as I you know, try to get actual first place normally, I'll be fine. And I'm sliding out because I'm moving the analog stick too quickly. So again, that's something that's on me. That's my fault. It also doesn't help when enemies slam into you. When enemies slam into you, that'll also cause you to slide out. So that can be pretty annoying. Alright, well that sucks. She got first place. I think I might still be first in overall rankings because she kind of like lagged behind me on the previous course. Let's see. This is where expert mode can get tense because it really comes down to just the rankings and where you place in it. Alright, so this is Whiteland 1. Whiteland 2 is sort of like my bread and butter. It's a really, really fun course. I'm looking forward to showing that one off to you guys. Oh, I almost got her. Actually, I did hit her. And my rival is gone, I think. Oh, come on! What was that? I got knocked off by someone else. You see, I actually think that that shouldn't have registered as an out. Like, I went off the course, but I still had enough momentum to land on the ground. That sucked. So we basically have to do this over again. So my rival got knocked out, but now she's back in, so I have to worry about it again. And this is also where I start worrying about, like, extra lives and things like that. Because I only have 2 lives left. And with these courses where you can get knocked off and you're just bunched up down below... Oh, and I just fell off again. Wow. Now I need to be really careful because if I die this time, it's pretty much game over. Or maybe they'll let me come back in one more time. Alright, so I'm not gonna get greedy, I'm just gonna race this one normally. Oh, that was close. Almost happened again. Alright. Still in 14th. Not great, but... There we go. Smacked up against the wall. That's not good. Oh, wow. That... Great. I pretty much have no boost to work with now because of rubbing up against that wall. Alright, I'm gonna see if that's gonna give us another chance because I can't do 10th place. We're not gonna get first place. Yeah, so this is our last chance. I had a feeling this would be our last chance, which is why I did that. Alright. Yeah, she's definitely got a faster shit than me. Alright, I think we might actually get this. Yep, we got it. Awesome. That was right down to the wire, too. I mean, I think we would have been fine if I got second place, maybe third place, but anything higher than that, we would have lost. So that's where sacrifices can also come in handy. If you play to the system. Yep, look at that. 563, 542. Alright. Very good, very good. Now, unfortunately, I don't think I can skip through this. So, yeah, I'm trying to skip through it now. So we gotta do this at least 3 times. Probably 4 times if I do the Joker Cup. Yeah, so it also tracks how many enemies you take out in the entire cup. So it's always fun to try to play these cups and see how many opponents you can take out. And what I should do sometime is on stream, just try to play F-Zero X and not really race, but just obliterate as many opponents as possible. And see what kind of rankings like I get from that. And then see how many opponents it like adds up by the end of the thing, assuming I get first, second, or third. That'd be fun to try. That would be a fun little experiment. All right, and on to our third cup. So as you can probably tell, things do get pretty tense when you're playing on expert mode. You know, if you're trying to get first place, you're trying to get that credit towards unlocking your fourth cup, it can get very tense. And as you can see, it looks like we've actually unlocked a row of characters for each cup we've completed as well, which is pretty cool. And actually, something that's kind of interesting to note is it actually tracks how many cups you've completed with each character, which is interesting. So, it tracks that I've completed it with Captain Falcon, but nobody else. So, cool stuff. If you're the kind of person that wants to unlock everything, or fill in all the slots, I don't know. This game has a lot of stuff for you to do in that regard. Alright, so we're gonna boost, and this is actually, you can do some really fun stuff here on this, this straightaway here, this ramp. You can keep boosting over like this. Look at that. That's so cool. We used to, one of my friends and I, we would just play time attack, and we would, try to see how far we could boost off that jump. And, it's one of the things I like about, you know, early 3D engines, is that a lot of times they'll just let you do whatever, as long as it's within the limits of the engine. Like, there's no invisible walls or anything. Like, right here, I can try to jet as far out as I can. And, you know, if this was a modern racing game, there'd probably be, like, an invisible wall or something that keeps me from even trying that, basically. It's one thing I love about these older polygonal games. Quake was another perfect example of that on the PC, and I demonstrated that in my Quake Let's Play, where you're basically just free to goof off in any way you want, and I like having that freedom. So we didn't get first place. I should have been able to get first place. I probably would have gotten first place if I wasn't goofing off on that jump and trying to, you know, boost as far out as I possibly could. It's better, instead of staying in the air, it's better to land and then keep using your boost. You're much faster on land than you are in the air. So I want to take on another opponent so I can get that extra life. One of those things it's like, I might as well. Wow, I'm all the way down in 13th too, that's not good. So what I might do... I got the extra life. And... I'm gonna retry. If you retry, you basically lose an extra life. Or you lose a life. So since I earned one, that gave me the room to lose one. Without really losing one, if you know what I mean. So, in a lot of cases, it's better. You're better off just trying to actually race. You know, get past all these guys bunched up in the beginning. Hit every boost pad that you can, and I keep missing my boost pads. And I keep sliding out too. Cut the corners as sharp as possible. Racing 101, basically. Boost the second it's available. I'm sliding out again. And we might actually blow up because these guys keep ramming into me. The AI can get really, really annoying because they just smash right into you. They have no regard for you, and they just smash right into you. And so that's basically what happened, and they kept bumping me, and they kept making me slide out, and then more enemies would slide into me, and then I lost all my energy. So... Oh, I keep missing. I keep sliding out. All right. Well, we lost a life, but at least we got first place. And that's where you can see where, as long as you can get past the pack and you race well, which I actually did on that attempt, which was good. The first attempt, I botched it completely. You can get in first place and you can stay in first place, basically. This was also one of my favorite courses in the game, especially to do time attack on. I would just play this course over and over again. You can get really, really fast on this one, but it's always tense because there's several parts in this course where you can either fly off the course completely if you're going too fast, like that hill I just went over. You can actually fly off and end up out of bounds. There's also several parts where it's just open on the sides. So it's very risky to be really, really fast. on this course. But when you go really, really fast, it makes it feel all the better. You know, when there's that risk. Watch out for those mines in the road. They're just like the ones in the original F-Zero. Except in this one, they'll actually make you hop, and they can actually send you over the edges. So you gotta watch out for those. Well, see, there we go. Oh! Oh, that scared the hell out of me. That scared the hell out of me. That's why you have to make... As you play this game, you learn the parts of the courses where if you're too fast, you'll just actually fly off the course. And that's one of those parts. I wasn't actually expecting to fly off like that. I got super lucky that I still managed to land on the course itself and not off the course. I can't really sacrifice too many more extra lives, unfortunately. So that was a real tense moment. Yeah, we're only on course 4. I mean, we basically have 3 courses, this one and then 2 more. So, I definitely don't want to be burning up lives right now. Because if you burn up lives in the beginning, that means that the end is even more tense, because you only get like 1 chance if you run out of lives by the end. So as you can tell, the Queen League, or the Queen Cup, there's a lot of really tight course designs here. It really stresses finesse on your analog stick. If you can't finesse, the analog stick, it's very tough on expert to succeed. You can't be like slamming the stick back and forth and expecting to get past these opponents. You have to just squeeze by them. And I keep slamming into the wall. Oh, that was awful. Still in 3rd place though. Get off the wall. Got it. Alright, so I think this is going to be Whiteland 2 coming up. And yeah, Octoman is still right behind me. Unfortunately, I'm basically just going to have to just race it normally. Because Whiteland 2 is very, very risky. It's just the entire course is open with no barriers. And it's a half pipe. It's actually a really, really cool course. It's my favorite course in the game. Especially when you're just doing time attack by yourself. Alright, we got it. Octoman is still right behind me though, so... Now granted, every time I get first and he gets second, I'm still, you know, inching ahead of him, just bit by bit. Because I'm getting 100 points, he's only getting 83. So you can see that he's at 454, I'm at 487. So even if I get third or fourth, I actually should still be fine. But ideally, I want to try to get first on this one. And Mute City 3, this is Mute City 3, this is actually a very dangerous course as well, because much of the course has no barriers as well. And it's got a couple jump pads as well, but I've noticed that it's actually better to just avoid these jump pads. The jump pads just slow you down. Particularly with how they're laid out in this particular course. Oops. Got to get past the rat pack. Everyone's just bunched together, and it makes it really hard to race properly when there's so many characters next to each other. They're all just slamming into you and not really caring about you. So we can get ahead, we'll feel a little bit better. The course will just open up naturally because there's less people on it. Alright, we're gonna go ahead and jump that. I didn't really want to do that, but I was like, whatever, I'll do it anyway. I think I might have actually knocked out Octoman as well, because he's nowhere to be found right now. And if that's the case, then I'm pretty much guaranteed to get first place as long as I'm 5th or 6th or something like that. Yeah, that's always a really course for me to get first place on. So many tight turns and whatnot, but I think we're first overall still, because I knocked out my opponent, or I knocked out the rival right below me. So even though I only got like 75 points or whatever, we are still number 1. Yeah, look at that. I did knock him out in the beginning, and I didn't even realize that was him. All right, great. Three cups down on expert mode. And that's with some restarts, too. Alright, last one. Alright, so now as you can see, the Joker Cup is now available. And the first course on it, Rainbow Road. Of course, not as rainbowy as it is in Mario Kart. But this is actually a fairly long course as well. It's longer than a lot of the other courses in the game. Much of it also doesn't have rails as well, so it's very easy to fall off. So you gotta really watch out for that on this one. We've got this mine section here as well, which you got to watch out for. Especially later on in laps 2 and 3 when you're boosting. It's very easy to accidentally hit a mine while you're boosting and fly off the course. So... I need to make sure not to touch too many opponents, because then they're going to drain all my energy. What little energy I have. And... you know, with Captain Falcon on Expert, it seems to be very good to be somewhat conservative with your boosting on certain courses. So this is one of those courses. You notice everyone is just coming up and getting past me. But then once I get a section like this, where it's just tons of boost recharge or shield recharge, I'll go to town with boosting. So you definitely want to take advantage of those, probably with any character. But Captain Falcon is the character I have the most experience with. And since he's not the fastest character in the game, you know, you obviously need to use boost, but you also don't want to use it so much that you run out of it, and then you can't use it, and then someone touches you from behind and you just die instantly, which is not good. So being relatively conservative with the boost can be good. Ooh, that was close. That was actually kind of scary for a second, because you guys can't see it, but what actually happened is my monitor just went out for a split second. Fortunately, I was on the last straightaway right before the exit, but that was really odd. I hope that doesn't happen again. I think this HDMI audio splitter box is... I think it's what's causing it sometimes. Basically what I do is I have this the HDMI signal going out to a separate box, which then splits the HDMI audio out to another box, so I can actually use headphones while I, you know, to monitor the game audio. But that means instead of the capture card going directly into a monitor, it's going into a couple of other boxes. There's a couple of extra links in my chain here, my production chain, that can lead to more potential points of failure when things don't work right. If that makes any sense. Alright, let's do this. Oops, I didn't mean like that. Oh, I thought I was gonna be at first place. Alright, so what do we got here in the rankings? Still first place. We're still... yeah, we're still in a safe spot, I think. As long as I'm getting, like, first or second each time, I think we're probably good. But I was really hoping to get first place on that one. Keeps sliding out. That's not good. And every time you touch someone, you slide out as well. So you really don't want to touch your opponents at all, unless you're trying to actually physically attack them. Otherwise, you'll slide out. And keeping your traction is one of the most important things to racing well in F-Zero X. And this course also makes it tough to do that because there's these constant hops. You're constantly getting propelled off the track or basically into midair, which can also make you lose control. I slid out again. That was my fault. One of the keys to not sliding out is using your Z button and R button. They'll keep you from sliding out. Granted, they'll slow you down. But slowing down that way is better than sliding out. Sliding out slows you down even more. Alright, this is dangerous because I have no boost. No shield, no nothing. Wow, I got lucky. Whew. That had me on edge. So that's good. First place, I figured someone was going to come up from behind and just touch me, and then I'd be dead. Alright, so we're good now. Port Town 2. And then the next one's the final course. and just knock someone out completely by accident. So it is good to also keep an eye out on, like, your opponent's health. You can basically tell what their shield meter's like by how much they're blinking. If they're blinking really fast, you know you can probably just, like, ram them from behind and then kill them. You know, it's something that you need to be really, really fast to notice, and if you want to try to take advantage of that gameplay mechanic. So basically, you don't always have to smash into enemies from the side, which is harder to time, but if they're constantly blinking, that means that they pretty much have one hit left, and you can just ram into them from behind, or just touch them very lightly, and they'll just blow up. Alright. So I'm actually in really good shape right now, so I'm just going to take this one easy, because this course is constantly open as well. It's very easy to get knocked off. Very dangerous course. Oh, why did I do that? Oh, why did I do that? I was trying to get cocky and slam into my rival because his health was low. And I didn't realize there wasn't going to be a barrier there, and I just flew right off. That was my fault, completely. Ah, it sucks. We have a couple more lives, so we're probably still good, but... doesn't really bode well. You know it's a tricky course when even the AI is falling off on its own. That ice section is probably the toughest part to deal with when there's other opponents on the track. Wow, we did it. First place. Awesome. Oh, that was really tense, because, you know, when you're doing these Let's Plays, like, there's always that potential for failure and getting a game over at the worst possible moment. Like, oh, at the hour mark, you just start having to play the same course over and over and over again because you just keep losing, and that fear is always in the back of my mind when I play games like these, where it takes a while to get through them. But overall, I'd say that was a pretty solid run. It was much better than my test run on Twitch. I think my test run on Twitch was like think it was at least an hour and a half long, and this one was, I think it was like an hour and 40 minutes long, and this one basically cut it by 30 minutes, which was good. So there we go. We just did all 4 cups in F-Zero X on Expert. So that's F-Zero X for you guys. Actually, what I'll do is after this part's over, it's also gonna like roll out the main ending as well, which is pretty cool. But I'll show you guys the death race mode as well, so you guys can sort of get an idea what's going on with that. It's just kind of like a novelty side mode, and it's just fun. So, oh man. We only knocked out 3 people in that entire cup as well, which is surprising. It felt like it was more. Alright, so there we go. We get the, sort of like, the real ending. It's mainly just credits. It just shows each ship and character, but, you know, one of the things that was kind of cool with F-Zero X is that they went with this, like, comic book style of artwork. As you could tell in the box art, and as you could tell on, like, the title screen and things like that. It's pretty cool. And, so now they're pretty much just, they show off every character in the game as far as I can tell. One thing I did notice, though, is that the music doesn't really fit the rest of the game. It sounds like something that would have been in, like, the Super Nintendo F-Zero, so I don't know if it's, you know, maybe just, like, a track that was left out of the original game or whatnot, but it's kind of interesting. I noticed that when I was streaming this on Twitch, and it was like, what happens to the rock music? But, so it is a little out of place in that regard, but it's still cool that they go through and they show you all the characters and whatnot, and ships. The crafts. The different crafts. So yeah, guys, that's F-Zero X on the N64. We ran through all 4 cups. So now once we get back to the main title screen, the X Cup will be there as well, which again is that randomized cup where just all the courses are completely random. It's kind of neat to mess around with. It's nothing you take seriously, but it is still pretty cool that it's an unlockable. And then if I wanted to be a real masochist, I could try to beat the game on Master, which again, I don't think I've ever done before. I mean, it's possible I've done it. I don't remember ever doing it, so I'm gonna guess that I probably haven't accomplished that. But I might give it a shot sometime. I think it's gonna really require me to take out my opponents, as opposed to, you know, racing well and getting first place, based on what I remember from Master Mode. But anyone out there that's watching and has experience with that, I'd love to hear your experiences with Master Mode.
See you again.
See you again. Now, I don't know if this actually lets you exit. Some games back in the days, after the credits rolled, you'd have to actually reset the console physically in order to get back to the title screen. All right, well, I'm not going to worry about Death Race mode. You guys can check out some other videos on it. It's a neat mode. It's just, it's a novelty more than anything, but it is there. I do recommend trying it out a few times if you haven't played this game before and you decide to eventually check it out down the road. But yeah, that's F-Zero X, guys. Super fun game. Like I said, it's one of my favorite racing games of all time. It's so much fun to play. It's just a very, very tight game. Very satisfying to go through and very satisfying to do time attack and whatnot. It's just a great game. If you haven't played this and you like racing games, I highly, highly recommend checking out this game. I also highly recommend checking out F-Zero GX on the GameCube if you haven't played that. It's a fantastic game. Unfortunately, we probably won't ever do a Let's Play in that game because it's just insanely difficult. The difficulty in that game is just through the roof. And but I will stream it sometime, most likely on Twitch. Maybe I can do a dedicated YouTube stream of it as well. That's actually something I could do. Maybe I can do an F-Zero GX dedicated YouTube stream. So I'll think about that. That's actually sounds like a good idea. So, but yeah, F-Zero X, fantastic game. It's one of my favorites from the 90s, and it's still one of my favorite racing games to go back to today. So, but yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. I mean, I'm just rambled on. Not the most entertaining Let's Play, probably. But that's how you get through F-Zero X, all 4 cups on expert mode. So I'm going to go ahead and just wrap things up here, guys. I want to say thanks as usual for watching. I really appreciate your continued support, and I hope you guys continue to get to garner some kind of enjoyment out of these videos, as entertaining or not entertaining as they might be. Hopefully see you guys on the next video, and until then, take it easy.